Good evening, viewers. Tonight we'll be exploring the phenomenon happening in our own backyards, unbeknownst to some and beknownst to even more. Forged by the hands of the dregs of society who wish for nothing more than to enable, to corrupt, and above all, profit handsomely from our innocent student body. I speak of none other than fake IDs. The usage of fake IDs in college towns is at an all-time high. With soaring demand, the supply often comes from unexpected sources. We are joined today by a female student who led a covert operation from the privacy of our dorm room. How did this involved middle-class honor student get started, and what shocking turn of events made her stop?
We've been researching for about 6 months before we actually started putting the things that she'd learned into effect. We had moved out of the dorms and into an apartment, so it made it a lot easier. We had no intention of actually selling IDs to people. It was more just making ones for ourselves, but we quickly learned that they were in high demand, and we had a group of friends who it kind of mushroomed from about 5 people knowing what we could do into us making, I'd say we made 100, maybe more. We had a running tally at one point. Figured out how to do real estate holograms using a powder called Pearl X that sculptors use, and those sold really, really well. That's probably where we made most from them.
Why stop now?
We ended up stopping because this person that we had been working with for a long time emailed us these pictures, 3 of which looked a lot like illegal immigrants, and another was an older guy, probably around 50, 55. So obviously that was a cause for concern when we had been dealing with a bunch of 18-year-olds wanting to drink downtown, but I guess our IDs were just too good. We found out later that it was from one of her friends whose dad owned a construction company in town. I actually think they were the ones working on the Coliseum, if I remember correctly, and they were undocumented workers and they needed IDs to cash their paychecks, so that was horrifying.
Illegal immigration. Convicted felons.
We didn't have people come to our apartment anymore. No one pretty much knew who we were. We had some runners who would run the IDs to people.
In this dramatic reenactment, we see how the operation may have gone down.
Were you followed?
You got the goods?
But after that happened, we kind of stopped.
How much did you make?
We had different price points where it would be $60 for the lowest, $80 for the real holograms, and then $100 for everything, which was an ID that could scan, had a UV light, everything. And I'd say that I made around $3,000, probably more because we tended to spend the cash quickly.
And the technology?
Yeah, I guess I've always been interested in the technological side of stuff, and having those skills already in place made it really easy to move straight into this. For some reason, people never really expected a duo of girls to...
Was it worth it?
This is a very difficult question to answer because the money was great. It pretty much paid for everything except tuition when it came to school. But we were well aware the entire time that it was a felony.
Under the guise of a mask.
So back in freshman year, everyone else had fake IDs and I was using my mother's, which was, it was her and she was born in 1967. And so I just changed it to 87 and PIN on top to get into bars. And that was fine, and it worked everywhere in Athens, and it made me realize how very, very simple it is to get into bars here. I mean, so I was like, there can't be a lot of work into making fakes. And so that's really how the idea got in my head. So for basically $300, you can start up doing it. I mean, the front costs are just really nothing compared to what you're gonna make. And then we got into making stamps, which is easy. You just buy a $30 stamp kit online. They sell them to like moms that want to do scrapbooking. But you can appropriate them for whatever purpose you want. And some people think you should. Some people think you should order stamps from a store, but we always thought, ordering a stamp in the shape of a state seal would be imprudent, so we just made our own.
To make one ID, it costs about $2.
First, the IDs are printed on paisley, run through a laminator, then they are cut. The fresh IDs are then coated in a layer of Perlex. The stamp is added to ensure authenticity. But not all IDs are made equal.
We put Benjamin Dover right there on the front of his ID and sold it to him, and he noticed like 3 hours later, and we had to give him his money back. One guy put female on his ID and gave it to him, and we had to make him a new one. And do you want to see it? I mean, it's not really a customer service industry, so you don't have to care about the customer's needs, but people are just douchebags.
Let's meet the competition. Don't try this at home.
God, we were really stupid. We paraded people through the dorm. I mean, we had a big blue poster board in our room that mimicked the background of the DDS. Made about 100 or 200 of them. If that comes back to me, despite the fact that we were pretty good about covering tracks, well, I'm in jail for a long time with a felony on my record.
And then what?
There's a girl who we made IDs for, and she had gotten caught downtown and had been arrested, and she contacted us asking us to make more of them. That instantly set off a big red flag, because she was acting really shady about it. She'd already been busted. Right at that point, my buddy and I just decided, let's cash in the chips, and it was a good run. Deleted all the files, broke the flash drives, threw away the poster board, destroyed all the lamination products, and we were pretty much done after that.
Athens criminal defense attorney Matt Carson sat down with us to give us the scoop.
Spotting fake IDs, I can tell you that I had them in college. I had one that was very good, and I had one that was really bad. Never got caught with it. It was never a problem. But from what I've seen in my practice, the quality of the fake IDs that are out there today is much better than it was 20 years ago. I'm sure that has to do with computer technology. When my clients come to see me, if they're charged with a fake ID, they are certainly not obligated to tell me where they got the fake ID, and frankly, I don't ever ask. I've never really even thought to ask. The only time I suppose as a criminal defense attorney it might come up is if the government's coming to my client through me and saying, if your client tells us where they got the fake ID, we'll cut him a special deal. I would say I probably see more clients that are male with fake IDs than female, but my sense is that has more to do with the fact that males generally end up in contact with police more often than females do. I don't know if that's a judgment thing.
What you're about to see may shock you. many of these bar hoppers are really 21? Watch closely. Let's take a closer look. How could this be? The doorman notices the fake ID. What forces were at play here? Was she too sexy? Was the man not sexy enough? Did sex have anything to do with it? It remains to be seen. What happens when someone gets caught with a fake ID?
I've never seen on a simple fake ID charge the prosecutor come at my client with anything even approaching a full year in jail and a $1,000 fine. I would say, if anything, over the past 3 or 4 years here locally, the solicitor's office has taken what I would consider to be kind of a more realistic position with respect to fake ID possession. As long as you didn't present the fake ID to law enforcement in an effort to be, kind of take the arrest under the false name, that's a whole other can of worms that usually will result in a harsher position from the prosecutor. Generally speaking, you are better off saying as little as possible to the police. I can tell you this, that if the police are in contact with you and they're asking for your ID, the last thing you want to do is give them a fake ID under circumstances where it can be interpreted as you saying, "This is really me."
And what does this legal expert have to say to students who are thinking about getting a fake ID?
If you're going to have a fake ID, be smart about it. If you're thinking about getting into the business of making fake IDs, don't. Number one, you're a student, you're in college, you have a bright future. It's just not worth it. Period. Number two, producing a fake ID or manufacturing them is a much different story. It's dealt with in a much different way than just having possession of a fake ID. A lot of people understand college kids have fake IDs, and it's dealt with in a proportional way. But producing fake IDs will get you a felony charge every time, and a simple felony arrest can create long-term problems for the rest of your life.
And indeed, they are cracking down. Recently, a series of busts have swept the Athens area, with FBI agents following leads and showing up at student stores. The criminal underbelly of the classic city.
If you're thinking about getting into the business of producing fake IDs, my only words are don't do it. If you're thinking about having a fake ID, go ahead, just be smart about it.